This is task 2B part 1. You've completed the APR calculator and now you're looking at a model for the annual payments that a customer is going to have to make. You can see here in the question that this is an example of what it's going to look like, and what I've done is I've already created the text that needs to go in, and I've formatted the cells appropriately and the borders. I've also named all the cells as the question is asked, so this one is on time, this one's APR bonus, contribution rate, and so on. So all of that work has already been done. Now what we're going to do is work out what a lot of this means as we go through and look at what data has got to be put in. If we scroll down the question, you can see that it gives us a starting point for the data. So what we're going to do is we're going to set that data as it asks us to do. So that is that we have self-employed, a credit rating of 4.1, driving license type of full, a guarantor, date of birth of 16th of 4th 97. Now that should give you an APR of 19.3, and we can now work on this worksheet. Now before we continue, you can see it's called sheet 1, and it tells you at the bottom that the is going to be called ownership model. So we'll do that now before we forget. And it tells you that anything in yellow represents data that must be input. So on-time payments, this means whether or not the customer has made their payments on time. If they have made them on time, it's yes. If they haven't, it's no. Additional payments are extra payments that the customer can make. If they make extra payments, then they get extra money contributed as well by IHP. So it's worth them making extra payments. Also, it's going to reduce the amount of interest that they pay over time. So in this case, we've got £450. We'll work out the formatting in a bit. The start date is when the actual loan starts, so the 7th of the 8th, 14. And the value of the car is how much that car is worth. So how much the car is worth, what they're actually buying in terms of the car. It's not how much they owe. And a deposit, that will be calculated automatically, so that shouldn't really be highlighted in yellow at this stage. So I'm just going to unhighlight that, and we'll correct the question in a bit. So having put in this initial data, we've now got to work our way through the formulas, including the deposit, which you can now see is not highlighted. So we'll have a look at the APR bonus first of all. Now it says that if the customers make payments on time, they're entitled to a discounted APR rate, which will be 2% less than the APR calculated in the calculator. So this is a straightforward if statement. We can put this in using the if function. And so we're going to basically be saying here, if on-time payments, so if on time equals yes, then we want to say we'll have the APR minus 2. Otherwise, we're going to just put the APR value in there. And let's have a look. That's saying it's 17.3. That's good. That's 2 less than this. Now, if you had trouble doing 2A part 4, all these formulae, that's fine. Just look up this value yourself and then type it in manually so that you don't have to worry about formulas, but you can at least still get some marks on the ownership model. So we've got self-employed, 4.1, full, and a guarantor. So that's full. Employment is good because it's self-employed. We've got a guarantor, yes, and it was greater than or equal to 3. It was 4.1, so we can see here it was 19.3. So you can just type that value in. Now let's just test this works. If we change this to no, that changes to 19.3, so we'll put this back to yes. Now the contribution rate, this is basically saying that if the customers make extra voluntary payments like this additional payment here, then the hire purchase company will make an additional payment called their contribution payment to the value of 30% of the APR bonus rate. Now we work that out quite straightforward. We say that that is going to be equal to the bonus rate, whatever that is, times 30 divided by 100. Or another way to do it is times 0.3. And there, that is 5.19. So that's 5.19%. Now what that means is that the hire company will refund 5.19 of £450. So they'll make that extra payment each month. The minimum payment, as it says here, must be 25% of the hire purchase value. Now, okay, we don't know what the hire purchase value is yet, but that's fine because we can just set up the formula. So it's going to be equal to the hire purchase value times 25 divided by 100, or 0.25. Okay, so it's showing 0 at the moment. That's what we'd expect. The deposit is that customers must pay a deposit that is 17% of the value of the car. So that's going to be equal to the value of the car value, times 0.17. Now for our most straightforward function or formula, and that is the HP value, which is going to be whatever the car value is less whatever deposit the customer has paid. And that then is what the loan is. So basically what the hire purchase is, what they're going to be paying interest on. So that's going to be the car value minus the deposit. And now we get to see what the minimum payment will be, which is going to be £1,245 a year. Now, we'll just make all these centered because that's what it's like in the question. And we'll go for all the ones that are currency. And I'm holding down the control key here to select them. And we'll select currency values there so that it's shown nicely. So that's this task completed. When it comes to printing it and the annotation, don't forget that you need to include the named ranges by going to Formula, Name Manager, and then you can screenshot. You can make this bigger to do the screenshot. Don't forget to make sure everything fits in the screen, okay? And remember, you'll also need to show the formulas. Now these will easily fit on one page, so you won't have any difficulty printing that off. And you can even do screenshots of each of the formulae. So you could double click on here, for example, and you could do a screenshot of that. And what I could do is show that area. Make sure you include the row and column headings in your printout and any screenshots that you do as well. Okay, so row and column headings, it's really important that they are shown. Now when you actually print the worksheet, it says that the worksheet itself must include formulae, row and column headings for the formulae bit, but for the actual ownership model, it's just a screenshot evidence, so we can just screenshot from this corner here up to that corner here, and we'll keep the row and column headings in because there's nothing that says that the row and column headings mustn't be there. So that's this task 2B part 1. I've also given you a bit of an insight into the formulae and functions for 2B part 2.